Winning in today's market takes the right moves. Welcome to Elevate Your Business from Elevate Coaching at Guild Mortgage. In this episode, we break down why marketing is no longer optional and what top producers are doing differently right now. Let's get into it.
Today's episode is called Lead with Marketing, Win with Loans. And this conversation really matters because producers who are winning right now, they aren't waiting on rates, right, Aaron? They're not waiting on inventory or luck. They're winning because they understand one simple truth, and that marketing is not an option. It's a job. My guest today lives this philosophy every single day of his life. This is Aaron Gordon I want to introduce you to. Has been in the mortgage industry over 24 years. He's averaged roughly over $40 million a year in his production. He's been a chairman's winner, president's club winner, and he's been an Elevate coach and now one of our growth coaches here at Elevate. Many know him as Aaron Knows Loans on Instagram, and he has many, many, many followers. I didn't even try to figure that one out because I'm always late because there's always more every day. But he doesn't just sell loans, he builds trust with scale. Aaron, welcome. Let's get it started here. So let me ask you, you've been in the industry for over 2 decades.
Wow.
What is the moment that you realized being a great loan officer was not enough?
Early on, Paula, I didn't know anything about loans when I got in. First of all, thank you for having me on the podcast. Really exciting. But, literally from day one, Paula, I had a marketing background. And my brother-in-law tried to get me in the mortgage business, and I was like, finance is boring. Like, I want nothing to do with finance. But I knew marketing. And I owned a small little marketing company, and we sold the company, and I had a few months to figure out what I wanted to do for work. And my brother-in-law kept bugging me. He goes, "You'd be great at this. You'd be great at this." And he saw something that I didn't see in myself. And literally from day one, I just said to myself, I don't know anything about home loans. I taught myself, back then, Paula, and it was a really small correspondent lender, a really small mortgage company. He literally threw me in an office with about a stack of loan guidelines, some passwords to some websites, and said, "Figure it out." There was no training. And I didn't even know what a 1003 was. And so I went out and bought the yellow and black book, Mortgages for Dummies. And I read that. I had gotten 2 home loans in my life, but knew nothing about the process. But I knew how to market. And so I just applied those marketing skills even before I was licensed to do a loan. And so as a result, Paul, my very first month in the business, I got 2 loans. I closed like 18 million that first year, and never had a year worse than that ever. And so, it just shows you that marketing is the most important thing. What I considered myself back then and for many years, as I coached people and told my story was, I always looked at myself as a data aggregator, not a loan officer. So what that meant was that every single person I talked to about home loans got into a database. And back then it was Excel. I just literally put them in an Excel spreadsheet that just grew and grew and grew. I'm not even an Excel expert. I suck at Excel, but I knew how to put name, email, phone number. That's all I knew. And even back then, it was like there wasn't much email going on back then. So it was really just the most critical thing for me was name and phone number. But I just looked at myself every day about it. It was so critical, Paula, that every single person I talked to, literally end of conversation, I'd go put them in Excel. And so everybody I talked to for those first 5, 6 years got into Excel, whether they were an agent or a friend or whatever. And I marketed from day one. To this day, I consider myself a marketer. I'm not a loan officer. There's a lot of people who know a lot more about loans than I do, even to this day. I've learned a lot over 24 years, don't get me wrong. But in my first 5, 6 years, Paula, I would say that I was not a great loan officer. I was a really good marketer. And not many people were doing as much business as I was doing, but I didn't know loans. I literally would have to call processing or underwriting on nearly everything. I was learning it. I didn't know anything. But it shows you don't need to know loans. You need to know how to sell widgets, right? The widget is the loan. If you can market yourself, you can hire people to do loans for you, right? If you could go create 100 leads in 2 months, you don't need to know anything about loans, right? Because you could surround yourself with people who know loans.
Well, think about it even today, someone new coming into the industry. Now we've got AI that can answer all those guideline questions and get the answers quickly to our consumers. So you don't that should not be a roadblock, right?
No, AI is so incredible. I mean, I wish I had it 24 years ago, but but Paula, you know what I learned a lot back then was that the answer "I'll get back to you" is an acceptable answer. You know, too many loan officers today in my career, well, they fudge the answer, or they give a half truth that they know to be the truth, and it's not accurate. And nothing will kill you faster than providing bad information. And so, you know, but the answer being, "Hey, you know what? I'm not sure. Let me get back to you," is totally acceptable. Don't be embarrassed by that because the person's asking you the question doesn't know the answer either. And so, you know, I built a career in my first 5, 6 years of, "I don't know, let me get back to you," on simple stuff, looking back on it. But you're right. Today, you know, our close friend and my boss, Andy Stewart, who's gonna retire here anytime now, the other day, Paul, he was asking me, I'm 60 years old, and I had a game plan for the longest time to stop doing loans, to retire at 62 years old. I literally built my life around that date of, you know, financially and putting myself in a position to where I could retire 2 years from now. And Andy said to me, you know, "What are my retirement plans?" I said, "Andy, I'm gonna do this now the rest of my life because AI has now made it so that the fun part that I like doing best is marketing, right? It's easy for me to market. I market, like you said, Paula, I market every single day of my life, hours a day I spend doing this. And I don't do many loans. I mean, I do a lot of loans, but I personally don't do a lot of loans. I have a team that assists me in that piece, and I can jump in anytime. And to this day, now I am the person who knows the most about loans on my team, and I've made a commitment over 24 years to learn a lot and make myself the expert and really brand myself as the expert, which is more kind of more what led to it. But but yeah, AI is going to make it so that, I mean, think about that. As long as I can market and make the phone ring, right? And get texts in and get emails in and get leads in, I'm gonna be able to say to the customer, "Would you like me to schedule a loan app with you tomorrow? Or I could send you an online application right now." If you're hammering out loans every day and you're arguing with underwriting every day and you're trying to calculate income and you're doing all that stuff that makes this job not very fun, right? No, you'd
Mhm.
probably have an exit date on your career because of the stress. But if you can get into the mode of marketing, which is fun to me, um, marketing all day, every day, you're just trying to create business and then hand all that off to an AI assistant to take the app, collect the documents, underwrite the file, get you to closing, right? Why wouldn't you just do this? This job becomes an annuity versus a job, and you can do it from anywhere in the world.
What's your daily marketing non-negotiables? What should other loan officers be thinking about, and what should they be doing on the daily as far as marketing?
You know, I'm heavy in social media, and I'm heavy in daily marketing to agents. So my day starts with making sure those assets are ready to go. So whether I've produced those assets prior or whether I produced them that morning, the social media stuff has to be ready to go that day. And then my daily marketing to agents, which occurs in many different forms, but that all has to be written, run through AI, for accuracy and other things, and has to be done. But then, you know, as we preach and elevate, Paul, I have my schedule, right? So Mondays, I really focus more on my social media stuff. Tuesday, I do make sure that I'm talking to all my listing agents on any deals that I have in process. You know, we all talk about Tuesday update calls. I've always been a little more flexible. I haven't been so rigid about Tuesday. I'm more like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I wanna make sure I've touched everybody in those 3 days because to me, it's important that I touch those people. I don't like leaving messages for people. I will send them a text after the first call, but so have to make sure I touch those agents on the listing side at least, you know, once a week. And so, whether it happens in a Tuesday update call or a follow-up to that, that is critical for me. And so it really is just, and then following up with past clients, every Monday and Friday, I do that. So, Mondays, I send out whatever. So because I send so many videos out all the time and I send a lot of social media stuff out, you know, I can go check on that stuff and see what was the most responsive, what had the most engagement. And so whatever had the most engagement goes out to my entire past customer database on Monday. So it goes to everybody. And it's a video that goes out to everybody. Or it could be a wrap up of my week of other marketing that got good response. So anything that got that generated a lot of engagement, that will go to everybody in my past client database and everybody, all my leads, everybody who's in that database is getting something every week.
I just want to reiterate what you just said because I think this is important. What Aaron is doing is he's creating, updates. I know he does stuff on the market, and then he reviews those at the end of the week and see which one had the most engagement. Now he can repurpose that video. So he's not doing another video, but he's repurposing that video and sending it out to his database. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't
So
wanna double the work.
yeah, you don't want to double the work.
Leverage
So
the assets. Yeah.
leverage your assets. So let's talk about someone who is a little bit shy on social media. It's not innate for them, right? So how would you coach them? Like, what do they bare minimally need to do? And why do they need to do this, Aaron?
Well, you need to do it because if you're not on social media, you don't exist in today's world. So it used to be we would tell people that you had to have a Google presence, you had to have a website presence because when somebody refers you, whether it's an agent, a friend, or whatever, first place people go today is Google. They Google you, right? Well, in today's world with millennials and then the generation behind them, they go look for you on social media. If you're not there in their world, it doesn't matter if you were a chairman's club producer. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter if you were the top 5 loan officer on the planet for 20 years. They don't think you exist. So you have to, and if you don't think I'm right, go next time you do a lunch and learn, ask the millennials in the room to raise their hand and ask them that question. If a referral doesn't show up on social media, do you trust the referral? Their answer will be no. And I've tested that 100 times already. So you got to be there. You got to have a presence. So no, you don't have to jump on video and do what I'm doing every day, So that is uncomfortable. I mean, it was not comfortable for me the first 30, 60 days, but eventually it becomes a routine and something that you get positive reinforcement and it's something that I know I now need to do. Years now that I know I need to do. But all it did, Paula, was, the why. Let's go back a little bit on the why.
Okay.
So technology changes. Marketing changes. When I first got in the business 24 years ago, I used to send out a blast email every 2 weeks. That was my marketing. The email was like 8 pages long. And what it was I was so interested in the mortgage business because I was learning, right? I knew nothing. Remember, I didn't know what a 1003 was. So when I would learn what DTI was, I was like, wow, that's cool. I would write like a 5-page marketing email about debt to income ratios and I would send it to real estate agents because I was excited about it. Can you imagine trying to send out a 5-page email about DTI today?
Snooze fest.
Yeah, exactly. They would discard that fast as anything. But back then they used to read it, right? Because that was the technology of the time. Email marketing was cool 24 years ago, right? And so, but what I established back then was my brand. I am going to educate you. Okay, Aaron Gordon knows everything there is to know about mortgage. He knows more than your lender does, and he is going to take the time and educate you, Mr. Agent, and he's going to break it down in very simple form. That has always been my brand. And so as things have developed and media has changed, right? I used to buy ads and I used to do all
Mhm.
this and I used to send postcards and all my marketing, all the hours I spend on marketing today, I've always spent doing it. I just did other stuff. I did postcards and emails and flyers and all this other stuff. You know, put myself in an open house. All these types of things that I used to do. But today it's AI and social media and this technology. So and it's going to change someday, right, Paul?
Mhm.
I'm 60 now, but probably by the time I'm really truly done, there'll probably be 2 more formats that
Mhm.
come. But the one consistent will be Aaron's brand. My brand will stay there. I was in a marketing meeting this morning for a board that I'm on, and the head of the marketing said, "Do you know that someday we're all going to be in driverless cars, okay? And our screens that are in front of us are going to be ad space. And when you drive by a billboard, the billboard's going to be blank, but it's going to know as you drive by, it's going to know your social profile, and it's going to shoot you ads that you want to see, right?" And I thought to myself, if I live to see that day, right, my content is going to be on there too, right? And because I'm already thinking that way, right? I just, as long as I keep my brand and keep my brand solid of education, it'll follow me. So that is number one. That's why you got to do it, right? No matter what occurs technology wise, you're going to have to adapt. So how do you get into social media if you are just completely afraid, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to show your face. Don't show your face. Don't, if it drives you nuts and you're too afraid of it and you can't overcome it, it's okay. Just pivot around it. I remember when I first got in the business, Paula, everybody in my office and everybody who coached me back then was like, Aaron, you got to make cold calls. Literally go take the white pages and start calling agents, right? I never loved cold calls. I love warm calls, and I'm not shy when I know somebody or I kind of know somebody or somebody's introduced me, but I'm not good at getting rejected 100 times in a day to find one lead, right? And so I always did stuff around that. I didn't want to do that one piece. But now when we coach people, look, if you hate cold calling, it's certainly going to get you to success faster. Don't get me wrong. If you're okay with cold calling people, you're going to get to the success window faster than somebody who won't. But if you hate doing it and you can't make it part of your routine, why try to force it? Right? I'd rather see you do 10 things a week that you like doing than one thing a week you hate doing that you're not going to do consistently because you hate doing it. Right. So if you hate getting on camera for social media because you're just nervous or you don't think you look right or you're not talking right, it's okay. Just don't do it. Right. Just do, just do faceless social media, post memes, post little stories, little snippets, just do what you can. Right. To have a presence so that when your referral partner refers you and that person goes to look for you, you show up.
Yeah, and I think too, even a really easy starting point is most companies have social media posts, that you can just take and put them in, you know what I mean? And they're already made for you. I mean, even just starting there, and then as you get more comfortable, you can do some other things. But I agree with you. It's like your branding. I mean, I remember I've done all of it, like too, Aaron. Like I was on the back of a bus one time here in Vancouver. I've been on benches, I've been in parks, I've been, you know what I mean, in the books, all those things. And when you think about the reach you can get on social media, and it's free. I mean, if you want to pay a little bit of money to get a farther reach, you can, but you can at least start with people that know you, right? And remind them of what you do.
Yeah. And the other hurdle we hear in our coaching program is that I don't want to bug people. Right?
Right.
It's silly because your timeline refreshes all the time. So there's so much content coming from so many people. Even if you post 5, 6 times a day, they're not going to see all 5 and 6 of your messages. Right? They're probably only gonna see 2 or 3 of them. And so I'm not telling you to go do 5 or 6 a day. What I'm telling you is that 1 a day is probably enough to get started. A couple times a week is enough to get started.
Uh-huh.
And but don't think you're bugging people, right? They are blasted with mortgage messages and real estate messages all day, every day. They probably appreciate yours more because they know you, right? And it's interesting, Paula, people always when I'm coaching people and I tell them about my routine where I literally blast my database, people I haven't talked to 5, 6, 7 years are still getting stuff from me and they opt out all the time. Right. And you can't worry about opt outs. Right. People get so freaked out when somebody opts out. Oh my God, I need to stop. I'm bugging people. You're not bugging people. We all get thousands of messages a week, right? And if we don't want the message any longer, what do? We opt out, right? And
And then we text them.
and then we text them, and we change the method of delivery, right? But what you have to remember is that somebody who opts out, it's not against you. They don't not like you anymore. They just don't need your message right now, right? And so the worst thing is, if I have 7,000 people in my database, is it better that I'm quiet to them because I'm afraid of 200 of them opting out this year? Or am I better off messaging the 6,800 who aren't going to opt out this year? Right? If you think about it that way, who cares about those 200? So I think that you have to start to look at yourself as a marketer first, and if you do that, you'll separate yourself from the pack.
Yep. So tell us today, what was your video today on social? I haven't looked at it yet.
My video today on social was okay. So I've been doing something lately where I look at other people's posts for very high engagement, right? Like the way I normally get content is every day I'm writing my daily marketing
How do
post.
you do that? Like, tell people If they wanted to do something similar, how would they write their daily marketing
Yeah.
about mortgage?
So
Something
you
that's going on.
so, if you're in our business, you should be curious,
Mhm.
right? So you are following the news, you're following mortgage news, you're following real estate news. Even if you're only spending 5 or 10 minutes a day, you're following something, right? And at our company, we have a great newsletter that comes every day from a guy named David Batney. But at all companies, there's stuff, and there's all sorts of stuff out there. There's all sorts of mortgage news and real estate news. And so what I do is whatever interests me most in those, I kind of just copy and paste them and put them into notes. So I constantly have a bunch of things that are relevant that excite me. I don't really think about everybody else. I think about, does it excite me? I feel like if it makes me interested, then other people will respond to that as well. And so I have in notes, I have a bunch of different factoids. And in the morning when I wake up and after I do my workout and my normal routine and I start to engage in work, anything that happened this morning that would be relevant that would be big, like the Fed dropping rates, or like yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, Paula, but it was the biggest November was the biggest pending sale month in like 3 years, which is huge news for real estate agents, right? Shows you the market's turning. But just little snippets of that stuff. I don't do the whole story. I do little bite-sized versions of it, right? And so I do little bite-sized versions of that, and then generally people respond. So I'll text that or I'll email that or whatever, and people sometimes will, "Oh, tell me about this or tell me about that." Or also I'll see online more people talking about certain subjects, right? And so then what I generally will do my video on is whatever jumps off the page more. Now, I will take a lot of those snippets too, and I put them into Facebook on just one-line snippets, with the color background. Some of those get to, 100,000 views, 50,000 views. When those things explode like that, that becomes a video topic. Okay, so anything that gets high engagement becomes a video topic. I also spend a lot of time looking at other people doing what I do on Facebook and Instagram. And like, to give you an example, today's video was on why can I spend $3,500 a month in rent, but I can't qualify for a $2,800 a month mortgage. Okay, now that's not a video I would normally do because I'm usually more topical to the day, but the guy on Instagram that I watched that talked about it had about 100,000 views on that topic, and he did it as a little meme. Okay, I'm not, I made a decision when I got into social media 4 or 5 years ago, and I made a commitment to this. I think I'm a pretty funny guy, and I post some funny stuff, but trying to be funny every day is a lot of pressure. Like, even the best comedians don't try to be funny every day. And
Right.
so that is too much pressure. And so I'm like, I gotta stick with my brand, which is educating people. So this meme about, you know, $3,500 a month in rent, can't qualify. I did a video on it, and that was my video today. And so, and then, what's amazing today is that I used to like write my script and then play with my script and then read it to myself, and really my scripting of my video was the most cumbersome thing. It would probably take about 20 to 30 minutes of me just kind of keep tweaking it because I wanted to be very conversational. I wanted to, wanted to be understandable for a 17-year-old person, and for a new agent. I didn't want to use any vernacular. I wanted to be very, very conversational. Okay. What ChatGPT and AI have done for me is amazing because my prompt has been worked on over the past year, and my prompt is really dialed in right now. My prompt is just what I just told you, which is be fun, be engaging, be entertaining, tell a story, write it for a 17-year-old so they can understand it, target it to real estate agent, first-time home buyers. I mean, I have a ton of stuff in my prompt. And so now,
Everybody, that was gold. That was gold. Rewind that, get those prompts down. Those are great.
and you gotta use your brand, right? So you wanna write your prompt to your brand, right? But, I think storytelling is huge. Whenever I tell a good story in a video, the engagement goes way up. When I fail to tell a good story, it doesn't do as well.
And again, you could, if you didn't want to get on video, you could take a picture of your clients and tell the story about their homeownership and how they got into a home. Maybe
Yeah.
it was a difficult transaction. Maybe they had been working on this for years. Um, but simple things like that where you don't actually have to get on video, but you tell the story and you show the picture of the family.
Yeah. And pick somebody who you like, who the way they talk. Like, there was a period of time there where I was saying to ChatGPT, "You are Tony Robbins. Here's what happened. Tell it back to me in Tony Robbins' voice." Right? And it's super cool. You could say, "I'm Oprah Winfrey." You could say whoever you are that you like their personality and the way they talk. You can tell ChatGPT to do it in that, and it'll just give you ideas. Not that you should go out there and talk like Oprah, right? But seeing how Oprah would explain something, I promise you it's gonna be very taken down to
Mhm.
a level where everybody can understand it, right? And so that is the critical piece, is that what we do is boring. Mortgages and real estate is pretty boring, but you can make it interesting. And so like I said, I love my prompt right now because it cuts out so much of the jargon, and it really gets down to the basics and really explains it the way it is. If you watch my video from today, the one about the rent and why can you qualify for rent and not for home? Really, it just drilled down to, look, if you miss a couple payments on your rent, your landlord's kicking you out in a couple months in most states, most cities. But if you go into foreclosure, it could take the bank years to kick you out. So it's a different qualification, right? The qualifying looks different because it's not as easy to get you out of there if you go south. And it just gave me a great script to do it in. So once you and to Paula, to your point, you could even take a script like that, and if you don't feel comfortable talking, just write it. Like, have ChatGPT write it and then tell it to make it shorter for social media, and then just post the stories on social media. There's different ways. I mean, you're not gonna get the same type of engagement, but, it's about having a presence, not engagement.
Love it. Presence. Let's go into you have been coached. You are a coach. How has that experience shaped you?
Oh my god. I mean, coaching literally changed my life. I mean, I told you that my first year I did 18,000,000, which was kind of a bad thing. I never struggled to get business, because I was marketing all the time, but I had plateaued. I had gotten about $30,000,000, and literally for, I'd say, 5, 6, 7 years, that was it. 30 to 40 every year consistently, which is an amazing living, don't get me wrong. But, especially back then when, you could make, 2, 3 points per loan, it was, a lot of money. But I got very complacent. And I didn't wanna be complacent. It's just that I felt like the next levels were going to be very, very difficult for me because I was gonna have to change the way that I marketed and the way I like to market. And I just didn't have the motivation to do it. You're making a lot of money and, it was comfortable and that. And then when I got coached for the first time, which first time was by referral only, um, that kinda kicked me into a different gear because it gave me routines and out of the box routines. And then it held me accountable, which was the main thing. Now, I've been really good at, for years, like you're hearing, of marketing every day, but it doesn't mean I was on a marketing schedule. I was running to it, like when I had time, when I had free time. And at some point, when you start to do a lot of business, right, now all of a sudden your life becomes a mess, right? And so, um, I made a lot of money for a lot of years, and my life was not very good. My life was a mess. I had no organization. I was hectic all the time. I was working 12, 14 hours a day, never saw my children. Um, didn't see my ex-wife, part of the reason why she's my ex-wife. Literally, I was so focused on financial goals and personal success that I felt was for the family too, which it was,
Mhm.
but totally misplaced because it turns out years later, now that, my kids are grown and my ex-wife is long gone, that wasn't what they wanted from me. They didn't, it was a heavy sacrifice, Paula, for that disorganization. And when I came to Guild, um, was the first time that I'd ever got coached, like one-on-one coaching, not just kind of group coaching. And my first coach ever, well, I had one coach, and then Tom Holyfield was like my first coach, and he did a really good job of getting me to focus in on some processes that I didn't really have. But then Tammy Whitron, who was, amazing, one of the first, Elevate, or one of the first coaches in the first Guild program, really changed my business. She really changed my business, and the biggest change to it was I got my life back. And the way I got my life back was by delegating a lot more than what I used to delegate and trusting my team more than I ever trusted them before, and really stepping out of the box and focusing on my marketing schedule all day, every day, and letting others on my team do the loans. And so that was a really difficult thing for me, Paula, because when so I in 2007 or so, or 6 or so, I left small mortgage banking and went to Countrywide. And at my Countrywide office, I would show up at the office at 7:30 in the morning, and I would leave at 8 o'clock at night, okay? And that was literally every day, almost every day. And my branch manager at the time, who's a Guild, branch manager now, her name is Dina Del Balzo. And Dina walked in my office one day, it was about 8 o'clock at night, and she said, "Hey, just wanna say goodnight. Oh, and by the way, you're gonna die doing this job. Just wanna let you know, have a good evening." And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what?
Ugh.
Like, what do you mean?" She goes, "Just to let you know, I've been doing this a long time, and people that do what you do die doing this, and so, you're gonna die at a young age, and, just letting you know." And I was like, "Well, help." And she goes, you're coming in, you're working 12 hours a day." I Paula, back then, I wouldn't hire an assistant. Like, I did, and that's a good lesson for everybody. I was doing 30 to 40 million a year when loan sizes were 2 and 300,000. So I was doing a lot of units, to up to 200 units a year by myself. No team, no nothing, in a time when we did not have amazing technology. So running DU, collecting documents, doing pre-approvals, analyzing tax returns, all of it, because I didn't trust anybody to run DU other than me. And that's all it came down to was, look, a $300,000 loan, I can make like 3 to 5,000 bucks. I don't trust anybody to tell me that it's not, because by that time, I felt like I could figure loans out. I could get creative. And so anyway, for my first 8 years in the business, yeah, I did a ton of loans, didn't have any help. And Dean was the first one who told me, "Look, just hire a part-time assistant. You'll share it with somebody in the office." So ultimately over time, but it grew to the point where at one point I had about 8 people on my team just for me. And but I was still working 12 hours a day. And so Tammy opened my eyes to, what do you have all these people for if you're going to work, 80 hours a week, right? And if you're going to work 80 hours a week, which is okay if that's what you want to do, have it help you grow your business to 100 million, not 50 million, right? And so yeah, so it was painful, but I ultimately got to a point where, um, man, I just got freedom. I got freedom. I don't go to my own pipeline meetings. Um, I get recaps on that stuff. I used to do a daily huddle. I don't even do that anymore. I just trust my team. I talk to all the customers on the front end. I talk to all my agents, and if there's a problem, I jump in. But I've been able to build an expandable business where, I had 2 years where, I got to $100 million. That wasn't even on my radar. That was never a goal of mine, and that never would have happened without coaching, accountability, and delegation, and trust, and everything that we coach. And I'm not telling you to go hire 8 people and go play golf. I'm saying, if you're gonna add people to your team, it's not to create free time for you, but if you don't have a life and it's affecting your family and your children and your health, you have to cut it back.
I think that's a big mindset shift that we talk about in coaching all the time is the trust,
Yeah,
right? Because no one can do it better than me,
no,
right? And so we're afraid to delegate some of those things. But I think the key is to find the right people, right? And everybody has to know their role. And there has to be a system that you're running. Because if you create that system and then you have the trust, right? Because if something breaks down, you can always go back to the system, correct it, right? And then keep going. And I think the other thing too is people are going to make mistakes. People are human and it's going to be okay because we're not in a business where people die, right? So I think that's a huge mindset shift that we deal with all the time in coaching.
Paul, you hit the nail on the head. You gotta have role clarity.
Mhm.
A coach once told me, "You can't be an A player unless you have A players on your team." So if you have Bs and Cs on your team, you gotta coach them up or coach them out. Um, and then you have to let go, you have to trust. And Paula, to your point, you have to understand that if they were you, they would go originate on their own and be you.
Right.
And so they're not gonna be you. But if they're 70% of you, It's okay. And the other thing that you have to get to is that agents, in my opinion, only care about two things. They care about getting paid and they care about getting paid on time. They would love for you to communicate during that process, but they really care about getting paid and getting paid on time. Okay. So the goal is closing the loan and closing it on time, right? Well, I'm sure if you interviewed me and Paula separately and asked how we get loans closed and closed on time, you're going to hear different versions of how we each do it, right? But if I jumped on Paula's team and I then try to micromanage Paula to do it my way, she'd get very frustrated with me in a hurry and say, "Get out of my hair." Right? I'm getting it closed. I'm getting it closed on time. Buzz off. Well, Paula, I'd like on day 3 for you to send this email. And on day 5, I'd like for you to send this text and this. Hey, Paula, get out of the way. Let me close the loan on time. Right. And so that's the micromanaging you're doing that's stalling your business and keeping you from marketing. Right. Trust the people to get it done on time. And if they do it a little differently than you, it's okay. Yeah, if it's you and your team and there's things that you wanna put in there, like day 3 emails and a text on this time, you put that in there, and they gotta do it because it's you and your team, right? But don't worry about the loan closing and closing on time if they've proven they can do it time and time again, right? How they whatever path they take is not the path that you would take, and it's okay because the agent doesn't notice the difference. It's like, so many people when you go to a wedding, right? And you go, "Oh my God, it was the most amazing wedding in the world." And the bride tells you a week later, "Oh my God, it was a disaster. This, and
Yeah.
this went wrong," right? Well, I didn't notice it. I thought it was amazing. That's you in the mortgage transaction with your agent, right? As long as it closes and closes on time and you don't bug them every time something goes wrong and alert them, they'll have no idea. So trust your team, let your team get it closed on time, and you go market.
If someone right now today is struggling in this environment, what would you tell them?
If they're struggling in this environment,
Yeah, they're struggling right now to build momentum. Um, it's right now we're at the end of December. A lot of times people are, well, no one's working, I'm not working. We focus on trying to build momentum into January. What would you tell them to do to build momentum right now?
you can only control what you can control, and you have to put earmuffs onto the noise. Right? There's all this negativity out there. Sales are down, insurance is high, home values are too high, rates are too high. You got to put on those noise canceling headphones of that and focus on controlling what you can control, which is marketing. Now, today, Paul, we talk about a lot. You're going to market into silence. Okay. But marketing is always into silence, right? Your marketing routines, marketing is a 1 to 2 year process. Whatever I do today, people probably aren't going to see and feel and really accept that and want to use Aaron Gordon for months and months and months down the road, right? It rarely happens unless you cold call people, right? It rarely happens instantly. So you got to focus on knowing that the market will turn and all the marketing that you do in silence will build collateral. So every day that you market, and you should be marketing every day, is landing on people's ears. They may not have anything to give you today. They may not have the opportunity today, but the more and more you market to them, the more when the day does come, when they have something, it'll show up in your lap. So you have to control what you can control, and you have to hold to your marketing routine and ignore the rest, right? And set yourself baby goals, right? So give it like if you're not doing any social media at all, say, you know what, in the next 30 days, I'm going to post 5 posts, right? Knock that goal down. Feel good about knocking that goal down. If you're setting this goal of I'm going to close, you've never closed $12 million in your life and you have a goal for 2026 to be 24 million, you haven't set yourself up very positively for a goal, right? Because unless you go grab a builder account or you tell me something substantially has changed in your life, to grow your business by 100% next year is probably not happening in this environment, right? But set yourself a goal of, if you did 2 loans last month, try to get 2 loans this month, right? Don't try to get 4 loans this month or 3. Just duplicate. If you felt good about 2, get another 2, right? And so I just think incremental goals, don't beat yourself up, right? If you market every single day and you do the routines every single day and you prospect every single day and you get face to face with agents every week and you network with people and you do everything that you know you're supposed to do and you don't get that much business, at least you know, hey, I'm doing everything I possibly can. But I assure you, if you're not doing everything. You're making excuses for it, and you're bailing out and not doing some of the things because you're getting frustrated, right? And the good news, like for some of us old timers, we lived through 2008, 2009, and we saw what worked. And this is what worked, right? All of our friends were going out of business. All of our friends were declaring bankruptcy and losing houses, right? Especially in the mortgage business and real estate business. A lot of people left. But the ones that made it were the ones who were able to market into silence, trust that someday we're coming out of this thing. And it was incredible, Paul, as I think if you talk to most people back then, within a year or 2 years, right, we were all doing a bunch of business again. Now, this one's been a little longer because the burst was so high during COVID that but you guys, this is normal, right? Like I did a post on it where there's been 5 million homes sold per year in the last 3 years when you count resale and new homes. Even at the peak, it was only 6 million homes. So 5 to 6 million homes is not that much difference. Yeah, it's a million, but it's not that it's not even a 20% decrease in business, right? So there's a lot of transactions out there. You got to go find them.
Aaron, I want to thank you for being on our Elevate podcast. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for coaching in our program, leading our company with marketing. You help so many people internally and externally. And for all the people listening today, how do they follow you? Where do they go?
So they can follow. First of all, Paula, thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun, and I always love sharing with people. The Instagram, you can follow me at Aaron Knows Home Loans. Facebook, it's a little more complicated. Aaron.Gordon.186. TikTok at Aaron Knows Home Loans, and yeah, take a follow. And if you need content, steal mine. So hey, so many people do. Why not you too? So just jump on and do it.
Yeah, and remember what he said. He himself goes out and looks at his competition. What are they posting? What's happening? Look at those things. Look at Aaron, look at other people in our market, and just take that stuff and get it out there, right? Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, Paula.
Thanks for listening to Elevate Your Business, a podcast from Elevate, the internal coaching program at Go Mortgage. Glad you could be here for today's playbook. If you want to check us out, head over to gilmortgage.com and click About Us to find Elevate Coaching. Have a question or want to keep the play going? Visit us and send a DM on Instagram at Elevate Mortgage Coaching, or leave a comment for us on YouTube. We're posting extra content, behind-the-scenes action, and everything you need to stay in the mortgage game. On Elevate Your Business, we share real stories and strategies from top producers to help you move forward. So ask yourself, what are you waiting for? It's time to elevate.
Guild Mortgage Company, NMLS identification number 3274, NMLSconsumeraccess.org, Equal Housing Opportunity, Equal Opportunity Employer, Arizona Banking License number 0018883. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Broker License number MC3274. Licensed by the Mississippi Department of Banking and Consumer Finance. Licensed by the New Jersey Department of Banking and Insurance. Nevada Mortgage Company number 1141. Oregon Mortgage Lending number ML176. Rhode Island Licensed Lender and Third-Party Loan Servicer. Guild Mortgage Company, 5887 Copley Drive, San Diego, California, 92111. For licensing, visit guildmortgage.com/licensing. All loans subject to underwriter approval. Terms and conditions apply. Subject to change without notice. Elevate is an internal Guild Mortgage Company coaching program and not a separate entity. Podcast content is provided for informational purposes and based on publicly available materials or tactics used in the industry. The views, strategies, or opinions discussed do not necessarily represent those of Guild Mortgage Company or its affiliates. Intended for mortgage industry professionals only.
Paula Nirschl, NMLS number 383396. Aaron Gordon, NMLS number 557050.
Thank you for joining us on Elevate Your Business, a podcast for mortgage professionals brought to you by Elevate, the internal coaching program at Guild Mortgage.